Welcome to the Hawkins Observer, a podcast where two half-lifelong friends recap and analyze every episode of Stranger Things as we prepare for the release of the final season this November.
As always, we'll give you a scene by scene recap, discussing the plot and developments, as well as sharing our thoughts, memories, and reactions.
Today, we pick up where we left off. A body was found in the quarry, and it looks a lot like poor Will. However, we'll see Joyce double down on her belief Will is still alive. Jonathan and Nancy will see eye to eye on a faceless situation, and we'll see Hopper doing some interesting dissecting.
So grab an axe, turn your house temperature down to morgue freezing, and join us for season 1, episode 4, The Body.
This is such a good episode.
Oh, so good. Some stuff really starts to come together. Uh,
Really comes out in this episode.
yeah, that too. The episode starts, it's at night, it's the same night that we left off. Um, we're at the buyer's house, the lights are off inside. The cops are looking around with flashlights inside the house. A deputy is like, "Is this the wall she was talking about, Chief?" But when you look at the wall, there's no sign that something was like trying to break through. We hear Hopper in a very gentle voice talking to Joyce, saying something like, "Our theory is that Will crashed his bike and somehow made his way to the quarry and he fell in." And he's like, but Joyce doesn't she's not really seeming to pay attention. And Hopper's like, "Joyce, do you understand?" And Joyce is like, "What you found? That's not my boy. It's not Will. I talked to him a half an hour ago." And then she shows Hopper that bundle of lights that she used to talk to him. Um, Jonathan is standing there kind of listening to this interaction and he pleads with his mom, like, "Mom, come on, you got to let this go." And she just kind of doubles down, is like, "Nope, he's alive." And Jonathan kind of storms off to his room. And then Joy starts describing this monster to Hopper, like, "Oh, it started coming through the wall and it had very long arms and it didn't have a face." And then Hopper just kind of really tries to level with her. And he says, "After Sarah, I saw her too. I heard her. I didn't know it was real. And then I figured out it was all in my mind. And I had to like pack that away before I went down a hole that I couldn't get out of." And Joyce, she understands what he just said. He said, "I know what you're
Yeah.
saying, Hopper. That's grief. This is different. I know what I saw. I'm not crazy. I need you to believe me." And Hopper's still just pretty much at a loss for words and is like, "Listen, go to sleep. I think tomorrow that you need to go to the morgue and see for yourself." So Joyce kind of just stands there as Hopper walks outside. He looks back to the house. Hopper's in his patrol car and he's about to drive off, but instead he does something kind of amazing. He puts it back in park, takes off his hat, and acts like he's just going to sleep in the driveway just to protect her and see what happens. We see Jonathan is in his room with headphones on in bed, just like trying to block out the world. Joyce goes to his door, but doesn't bother him. Instead, Joyce goes outside into that shed and comes out of the shed with an axe, goes back into the house, and sits on her couch just like she's ready for whatever happens next. Woo.
When she comes out of the shed with that axe, she is so. I mean, this is the most resolved we've seen
Hmm.
Joyce so far. She's not frantic anymore. She's really just determined.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, the beginning of this scene, the voices are really muffled at the beginning, and you kind of feel the weight of Joyce A is not listening. And so
Hmm.
that's mimicked by the kind of really muted voices where Joyce is reeling. She's in thought herself, and so she's not really
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah.
You brought up something that I thought was interesting. It could also be that even as Hopper is telling Joyce, he's remembering his own experience where somebody is giving him extremely bad news.
Yep.
Either way, it's this extremely heavy scene. But as an audience, we suspect that Joyce might actually be more right. We hope anyway.
Hmm.
Um, so we feel for Jonathan and trying to plead with his mom. Like Jonathan's not able to grieve because his mom just won't drop this
Yep.
idea that she is speaking with Will. And we've sympathized with Hopper having to deliver such terrible news, and then also feeling genuine concern for her.
Sure.
Uh, as you just mentioned, staying in his truck
Yep.
outside, he's not going to leave her. So we don't know what's going to happen next, but Joyce is ready for it if it comes back. I thought it was interesting in this scene. I noticed there's no interior lights in this room.
Ah,
Only lights that are there are the flashlights that
gosh.
we have. So any
Yeah.
lamps or those Christmas lights, nothing's on, which is a choice, I think.
Yeah.
And I think does put that doubt in our mind of like, was that actually Will's body? And now
There's
all the
not.
lights are going out.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely felt for Hopper even in this scene because he couldn't even finish the sentence after Sarah passed away, after Sarah died. He couldn't
Yeah.
even say that. So
Yeah. He just
he's
said after Sarah.
after Sarah.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
then like zooming out, um, Joyce, what's the actress's name? Dang it.
Winona Ryder.
Her performance in this opening scene, just all the emotions she has to feel, like trying to convey that you're not crazy to someone while looking that crazy, like she did
Yeah.
an amazing job.
Yeah. I think the line that she delivers is perfect. You're talking about grief. This is
Uh-huh.
different.
Yep.
She's giving Hopper the dignity to say, I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
This is different. And we so desperately want to believe her.
I think by the time we recap the next episode, perhaps, or maybe at the end of season one, we should have looked up to see if anybody received any awards as actors from this.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't remember, but we'll recap that at the end of season one.
sure.
From the buyer's house, we cut to the Wheeler's house. Karen sitting there with her husband or with her husband watching the news, asks him like, should we check on him downstairs? And the dad, passive as always, says, give him time. He'll come to us when he's ready. The
Yeah.
newsman says, if you listen carefully, I caught the newsman saying, "This isn't the first time someone has drowned in the quarry. You recall 7 years ago, dot, dot, dot." That story
Mm,
doesn't finish because we go down into the basement where where Mike is looking at old DOD artwork, probably drawn by Will, and Elle's playing with the radio across the room, and she's making noise. It's like buzzing and staticky, and Mike yells at her to stop. And then he starts chastising her. He says, "You hurt me. What you did sucks. Lucas was right about you." So Mike takes Lucas's side. And you can see that
yeah.
kind of hurts Eleven, but she just takes it all in, and then she looks back at the radio, and then with a nosebleed, she looks back at Mike, and we hear Will singing over the radio, "Should I stay or should I go?" And Mike recognizes his voice immediately, runs, grabs the radio. "Will, are you there? It's Mike. Over." And he just tries to stop to get, Will to answer him over the walkie-talkie, and he looks at 11 and is like, Was that him?" And 11 just kind of smiles with the nosebleed and goes, "Will."
Yeah. 11 redeems herself probably in her own mind from leading them to the buyer's house
Oh
and
yeah.
shutting her down like this was a dead end. And now she's coming through now in a really tangible way to show Mike that
She cares.
she can find, yeah, she doesn't give up. She's really still interested in helping and shows them, or Mike anyway, in this scene that they can communicate with Will. And I think as an audience, the way that they shot it gives us a lot of confidence that this isn't really anything other than 11 legitimately communicating or at least tapping into Will, um, wherever he is.
Was this the first time that we've seen her nosebleed in outside the lab? Like she did a few things for the boys. She slammed the door, but I don't think that caused a nosebleed. I feel like this might be the first time that she has to, however deep she has to dig into her powers where it causes the nosebleed, which
Maybe,
we've seen in the lab. I feel like this is the first time she's done it in front of Mike.
maybe, yeah. But yeah,
Uh,
we feel all the hope that Mike feels and the desperation too.
yeah. From there, we run right into the intro credits. From there, we're back at the buyer's house. It's morning. You see the lake by their house, and Joyce has fallen asleep with the axe on her lap, and it appears like she's awakened to the sound of Will going, "Mom." And she kind of wakes up or what's going on. But then another quick visual of Will saying "Mom" right in front of her, that actually wakes her up. And it turns out it was
Man.
Jonathan standing there, Jonathan waking her up, going, "We have to go. We have to go see Will at the
Yeah.
morgue."
So sad and relatable. I mean, we've all had those sleeps that we're so anxious while we're sleeping.
Yeah.
And then you dream that you wake up and before you actually wake up and then you wake up. I mean, yeah,
Oh,
that's a tough scene for her because Jonathan, I mean, she gets woken up from thinking that she sees Will to actually being told by her son that we have to go see him in the
we have to.
morgue. Brutal.
Cuts to the same morning. Mrs. Wheeler walks into Mike's bedroom, checking on him, and Mike's under the covers. He's not sick, but he's just like, "I don't think I can go to school today." And his mom's like, "I get it. This has been a traumatic situation." She's like, "How about I gotta take Nancy to school, but how about you ride with me and we'll go to the movie store and I'll even let you pick out something R-rated," which is funny. And then Mike's like, "Nah, I just think I want to stay home today." And she's like, "Okay, if you need anything, call your dad at work." But Mike's faking again. So as soon as mom walks out of the room, he picks up his walkie-talkie and tries to get a hold of Lucas. "Lucas, do you copy? Lucas, Lucas." Takes forever for Lucas to get back to him. But as soon as he does, Mike's like, "This is about Will, not about his funeral. Screw the funeral. This is about Will. Bring Dustin and get over here, stat." Over and out.
Mike has some information that he needs to share right now. And Lucas doesn't get it, but
Yeah. I I feel like he's essentially also, or maybe Lucas and Dustin were also already planning on not going to school that day. But essentially he's asking them to also, well, maybe just come over before school starts. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, from there we cut to the morgue and Hopper's actually there with them, which I thought was kind, but it's Jonathan and Nancy. And Hopper's talking to the receptionist at the front desk, and she mentions that, it's been chaos since last night. And Hopper's like, "Why?" And the lady's like, "Well, those men from the state sent Gary home, who I guess Gary's the normal mortician who does
Warner, yeah.
autopsies." And Hopper's like, "Who did the autopsy?" And the lady at the front desk is like, "All those men from state did." So then we see Joyce and Jonathan. They're not with the body, but they're behind glass, a separation from the actual room. And the person pulls back the sheet, and from a distance, we see what looks like Will's body. Jonathan sees it and runs out of that little room like he's about to throw up. But Joyce's reaction is he has a birthmark on his right arm. Can you show that to me?
Hmm.
Cut back to the lobby, and Hopper and Jonathan are there together. Hopper's like, "How's your mom? How long's this electric stuff been going on?" Jonathan's like, "Yeah, since the first phone call, it's been weird. Mom has anxiety problems." You can see Jonathan's worried, but eventually both Hopper and Jonathan agree, like, Joyce is strong. Like, she's gonna get through this. She's tough. While they're kind of consoling each other over the fact that Joyce is tough, she bursts out the door. It says, "I don't know what you think that is in there, but that is not my son." And you can hear the guy who had pulled back the sheet going, "Ma'am, I need you to sign." Like he's like trying to get her to, "No, come back. You have to get your signature." And Joyce is indignant. She's like, "That's not my son. I'm out." Whew.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought of this as you were explaining it. Are we supposed to think that that man who's asking her to sign it is one of the state guys,
Yes.
or if he's a regular
No.
person there? Okay,
I
I've kind
think
of taken it as though he's one of the regular guys there. But either way, we don't actually see whether or not the birthmark that she's asked. I mean, he actually has a birthmark, but whether or not it actually is there, because
yes.
suspicion would be that they didn't replicate the body well enough to get that small
Such a
detail.
small detail. Yep.
And Joyce is not convinced that it's Will, and in fact, she's very convinced to the contrary.
Yep.
Uh, but the biggest thing in this scene is why didn't the regular coroner in Hawkins do the autopsy?
We will find that out.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's, I mean, Hopper is there for Jonathan and Joyce.
Uh-huh.
Now he's starting to question what's going on here. Why would people from
S-
state, why would state officials come to a small town to do an autopsy on
Right.
a boy?
Right.
So we have a lot of questions, and Joyce is just doubling down that it's not Will's body.
From there, we cut to Nancy and Steve talking. It looks like they're outside, maybe at recess or something like that, but they're in between buildings. No one else is listening. And Steve's like, "You saw a guy that was wearing a mask in my yard, like he had no face?" And Nancy's doing her best to describe, like, "No, it wasn't a mask. It was just like, I don't know. Like, she's not certain what she saw." And Steve's like, "Oh, this is bad. The cops are going to want to talk to all of us. My parents are going to murder me. We just don't talk about the beer." And Nancy's like, "Are you kidding? Like Barb is missing and you're worried about like you're getting in trouble with your dad?" And Nancy essentially storms off and is like, "I can't believe you right now."
Yeah. Yeah. Steve only cares about himself. He does say
Number
like
one.
my dad's a particularly,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, Nancy is again, this is the second time now in two episodes that Nancy's kind of communicated to Steve like I have more important things than to worry about how you think of me. So she
Yeah.
pieces out.
Uh, from there, we cut back to the morgue area and actually outside the building on the street. Jonathan pulls up in the car, like, "Mom, get in the car." And Joyce is like, "Nope, I need to think. Just go home, Jonathan." And Jonathan's like, "We have a funeral to plan." And Joyce is like, "I know it sounds crazy. I know that, but I heard him. Will is calling to me. I don't care if anyone believes me. I'm going to bring him home." And Jonathan's like, "Well, while you're doing that, the rest of us have to have a funeral for him." And I think it's like this is the moment where Jonathan now truly believes his mom is crazy.
Mhm.
A lot of people are, you know, because they're arguing publicly, there's a lot of bystanders that kind of turn and see this
Yeah.
argument happen. So,
Yeah. Jonathan's like, all right, guys, the show's over. He is so distraught in this scene. I mean, seeing what his
yeah,
mom is going through and then the embarrassment of an introvert like him being kind of a public spectacle.
yeah,
Also, he's extremely determined to move forward because he's like, I'm not letting Will sit in that freezer another day.
yep,
He feels in this scene like he's taking kind of a leadership role in the family.
like
So there's this
usual.
a rift between him and his mom.
Yep.
He's like, I'm just going to let you kind of continue in your delusion because there's things we have to do and I'm going to do them.
hmm Uh, we cut back to the buyer's house. Lucas and Dustin are now there. Elle's trying to use the radio again, and they hear a little something that sounds human, but Lucas says it's just a you just picked up a baby monitor.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
some whimpering, I think.
yeah, yeah, you picked up a baby monitor. And Lucas says to Dustin, like, "Are you actually believing this crap that she's got powers that we can hear Will through radio? Did you not see his body? He's dead." So Lucas is just doubling down. He's dead, he's dead, he's dead. Mike, however, as a result of what he heard that morning, he says, "All I know is Will is alive, and all we have to do is find him. He's alive. All we have to do is find him." And he says, "We need to get Elle to a stronger radio." Lucas is again the pessimist. "There's no way we can get the weirdo in there without anyone noticing." Then it cuts to Mike putting makeup on Elle's face. This might be one of the first cuts where it stays with the same characters. Like so many cuts, it's like new scene, new
Yeah.
scene. But this is like cut to Mike is actually putting on
Yeah.
uh
Well, they go
makeup,
through some drawers or chests or something and find some dresses and a wig.
a wig. So
Mike starts doing her makeup.
yeah, so the boys find a dress, find a wig, put makeup on, and then she puts on the dress presumably by herself this time and doesn't strip in front of them, and she walks out, and Dustin goes, "Wow," and Mike blurts out, pretty good." "You look pretty
Yeah,
good."
good.
And then she looks into a mirror for the first time with this long blonde hair,
I
even
know.
though it's a wig, and she looks at herself and goes, "Pretty good."
Yeah. Yeah, she feels good about herself now.
It makes me wonder if at this point of the filming, like, was that actually did they have to put on a wig because of the filming sequence, or did I don't know if they could have taken a break. No, there's no way they could have taken a long enough break for that poor girl's hair to grow back. So it probably really was a wig.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
And I
we
don't
cut.
think it was particular. I think they tried to make it look like the boys put it on.
Uh,
Like it wasn't, a perfectly professional wig job.
yeah, yeah. Not like Jermaine putting a wig on Brett and pretending he's a woman. It's a different show. We cut to we cut back to the lab. The men are all suited up. We know that they're downstairs somewhere because there's particulate in the air. But one of the men is in like a special yellow suit that's not like the others. And we find out that the winch that was bolted to the floor is for him. They attach the hook of the winch to the back of his suit. And we find out this guy's name is Shepard. And Brenner says, "Good luck in there, son." And so Shepard walks towards the creepy alive wall and he clears away some of the mucousy spider web and pushes his hand through. And it kind of hears a growl. He looks at his hand. It's just gross and weird. And he kind of looks back, hoping maybe that someone will tell him, never mind, don't go. But
Yeah.
people just, go on. So he has this look of resolve come over his face, pushes his way through this mucusy crapped wall, weird stuff, and then the wall just kind of heals itself where he had gone in and back to, and all that we see is the lead of the winch. Just he's in there still attached, but the winch is getting
Yep.
pulled in.
Yeah. The only thing about this thing I thought was interesting is the Brenner uses the word son. Now, obviously, that's a colloquial phrase that an older man may use for a subordinate.
Sure.
I don't think it's accidental that we really only know him as Papa and Dr. Brenner, and then he says, "Good luck in their son."
Yeah.
But we don't know where Shepard is going.
Oh. Cut to the school. Nancy's looking out the window, not paying attention really, and the teacher's interrupted by the principal saying, "Nancy Wheeler, please come with me." She's pulled out of class because the police want to talk to her. So it's Nancy's mom, the two deputies, not Hopper, but the two deputies, Nancy and Nancy's mom, talking about asking questions about Barbara. Um, and they're really grilling her, like trying to get her storyline right. And Nancy's like, "I just told her to go home. I went upstairs to put on dry clothes." And then, they kind of ask some sensitive questions, implying some things about what might have happened that night just to Nancy. And then they're like, "And then you went back the next day and saw something?" And she's like, "I don't know what it was. Maybe a bear. I don't know. But whatever it was, I think it took Barb." She's like, "You got to check behind Steve's house." And they're like, "We checked. There's nothing there. There's no bear, and her car's not there." And Nancy's like, "Her car's gone?" And so the police are like, "We figured she just came back to her own car and jumped in and drove off and ran away." And Nancy's like, "No, Barb wouldn't do that." And then they're like, "Well, maybe she was upset. Was she jealous that you and Steve were?" And Nancy doubles down. "No, it's not like that."
Yep. Yeah. He ends by saying, um, like they say, was that before or after you went upstairs to change clothes?
Yeah.
And Karen is there like, you
Hmm.
were you were lying to me. But yeah, they asked her if it was a bear, and she was like, I don't think it was a bear.
Uh-huh.
She's not going to tell them it was a long-armed man without a face. But yeah, I mean,
Ah,
she's the most shocked that Barb's car is gone. She was like,
yes.
I was just there,
That took her for a loop to find
and her
that out.
car was there.
Yep.
So Nancy's like, what the deputies are telling me isn't adding up.
Uh-huh.
And now she's kind of bearing the burden of she has this information about this faceless creature that she's like, I don't know who I'm going to tell that's going to believe me. It's certainly
Yep.
not going to be Steve.
Yep.
And she does, they sent the A squad deputies to investigate her. So it's not like there's a high level of confidence they're going to give her a proper, thorough examination. And
Right.
she's not necessarily, she's still trying to keep up a little bit of secrecy with her
Yep.
mom, her and
But
Steve.
but the
But
police
that's
are
what,
they're essentially interrogating her with their own story in mind. Barb got jealous and then she ran away from town. Like the police are asking leading questions because that's the story they're believing.
yeah. Yeah, they want to put the story on Nancy. Not that Nancy did anything wrong, but just that, yeah, Barb and Nancy are having a spat, and so she left. But Nancy
Mhm.
knows better than that.
We cut to Hopper. I believe he's at the police station and he's talking to this fellow named Gary, who we know is the local mortician, I guess. Uh, and he's asking about what happened last night. And Gary says 6 state troopers brought in Will. Gary had never seen that many before. The staties just claimed jurisdiction and they kicked Gary out. And Gary's like, it was pretty over the top. And Hopper's like, why was it over the top? And Gary's like, it wasn't like it was JFK. I mean, this is just Will Byers. Like, you don't need that many people to bring in a body. And as he's finishing that up, Hopper's attention is drawn to the TV, and there's a police officer being interviewed and about the situation. And the police officers are like, "We think this, it was just an accident. This wasn't like foul play, nothing to worry about."
Hmm. Yeah, but Hopper's not getting the right vibes from Gary or from this state official.
Yeah.
He's just like he's trying to planning his next move, but he's not
Hmm.
buying the official story.
No. Cut to the boys are have left Mike's house and they're on their bikes, and 11 is on the back with Mike. Which think about it, it's one of the first times 11 is well, did she already take a bike ride? No, she took a bike ride once, I
I
think.
heard
Anyway,
Mike, yeah, they yeah went to the buyer's house, but still, that was kind of not around a lot of people. They kind of
yeah.
took like train tracks over to
Oh
Will's
yeah,
house.
that's what I was thinking. Now like 11's on the back of a bike looking at this downtown populated area, and they arrive at school and they come up with a plan like, if anyone sees us, just look sad. So they make a beeline to the AV room and it's locked. And they're like, what do we do? What do we do? And they're startled because the AV teacher comes around the corner and like, hey boys, the assembly's about to start. They're like, we know, we're sad. We don't know if we want to go. And the teacher's like, you should go for Will. Just be there for Will. And then the AV teacher's like, oh, who's this girl with you? And they're like, oh, it's Mike's cousin, second cousin. She's from or no, it's Mike's second cousin. She's here for the wedding. The teacher's like, oh, sorry you're here under such bad circumstances. And the teacher's like, where are you from? And 11 cuts the boys off and she goes, bad place.
Ah,
One of my favorite scenes. And then the boys are like, Sweden, she's from Sweden. Super cold. She hates it there. So the
Bugs.
boys, Sub-Zero, the boys, they all walk towards the assembly and they cause a scene because it's underway and they just doors bust up and wide. Essentially, it's a record scratch right in the middle of Will's assembly where everyone just kind of looks at them. Dustin tries to bolt, but they eventually go into the assembly.
Yeah, the plan to dress 11 up to kind of get her into the school without any suspicion kind of works
It really
because
works.
Mr. Clark doesn't really get suspicious about her.
Nope.
Um, but the boys are so quick with their lies and building
Yes.
on each other that it really works.
Yeah.
But he asks her what her name is, and she says 11. But
11.
then as soon as she gets to it, one of them says Eleanor.
Eleanor.
Like that was quick thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not able to hide anymore because now they're the focal point of this assembly because the doors are so loud and there's only
Yep.
one person talking and they kind of sneak their way in.
It's one of my favorite scenes. Just where are you
Yep.
from? And 11's like, bad
Uh,
place. Oh gosh, I thought that was funny. Um, let's see. From there, we cut to. Sorry, I got my note out of order. Oh yeah, we
Aaron
cut
yelling at Nancy.
we cut back into the Wheeler's house. Karen's yelling at Nancy, "You lied to the police!" And Nancy finally admits it. So we slept together. It's not a big deal because Barb is missing. And her mom's like, you slept with them? That's a big deal. And Nancy's like, no, it's not. The big deal is that my friend is missing and I know something terrible happened to her and no one's listening to me. And then Karen does another like good mom move. She's like, I am listening. She doesn't act mad. She just says, I'm listening, in a very kind, motherly way. And Nancy doesn't have it. And she just storms off to her room. And then she sits on her bed and she takes out those pictures that the ripped up pictures she had taken from the feet of Jonathan, I think the day before now. And she puts them out on the bed because she remembered seeing a picture of Barb. So she's looking at Barb and then she looks at all the pictures and sees something weird. And she starts thinking, well, how do I put these back together? So she literally puts the big picture back together like a puzzle. And when she's done and taped it all back together, she sees in the photo that it looks like there's something standing behind Barb.
Yep. Yeah, it's the first time she sees that her picking up the picture is gonna, you know, lead her maybe somewhere because you know, she's looking at this picture of Barb probably because she misses her and
Yep.
because she's worried. I don't think she's necessarily looking for something.
Nope.
Definitely sees something
Hmm.
that we get a little glimpse of as well, kind of in the right hand side of that photo.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, her 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 conversation with her mom now proves to us that she's not interested at all in the politics of this relationship and any consequence she might face for admitting that she slept with Steve. Like she's a
Yep.
one-time mind. She's gonna find Barb, whatever. And she's like, I'll just go come right out and tell you what happened because
Yep.
it's not concerning to me at all what you think about that. I only care about Barb.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
what is in that photo?
From there, we cut back to the laboratory, and at first, they can't get contact with this shepherd person who's walked through the fleshy wall. And eventually, he confirms comms, and they're like, "What do you see?" And he says something like, "Everything's still here, like it normally is, but everything's kind of rusty and covered in blood." And then he says, "There's something else in here." And then the alarm goes off, and then the most acting David Brenner's or Dr. Brenner's done. He just yells, reel him in. So the shepherd guy starts panicking, pull me out. And the cable that he's attached to starts going crazy, like it looks like a fish is caught on the end of it, but his cable's going crazy, and then they're reeling it, and all of a sudden the cable goes limp. They keep reeling the cable back out, and the only thing on the end is like a bloody patch of his suit. And Dr. Brenner looks like genuinely disturbed he just bows his head like, oh God, what just happened? And then, after the whole cable is pulled out, the wall does it again. The wall just heals right where the cable had been.
Yeah, this is the first time that, or sorry, the second time that we interact with blood because Barb bleeds into the,
Mm, mm,
and now everything in this other place through on the other side of this portal wall is covered in blood.
yep.
And that we don't really get a lot of explanation for that, and I'm suspicious about that myself, even knowing what I know
Uh-huh.
about the rest of this season and the rest of the episodes. I just don't think that this is the last time that we're going to deal with that issue of blood. But it's also the first time we see Brenner showing any sort of emotion because so far everything he's discovered has just been fascinating to him,
Yes.
and now he looks worried.
Yeah, that's a good point. And angry. It was just bizarre when he yelled for the first time. Uh, we cut from there. We cut back to the assembly, and the boys have already found seats. They're all sitting together, and they're not really interested because their minds are reeling with, okay, we got to, as soon as this is over, we're going back to that lab so we can find Will. So they're not really paying attention to the assembly. What they do notice is that those two same bullies are laughing, like just carrying on and like making fun of Will even as the assembly's going on and just laughing and being, jackasses essentially. And then Elle realizes Oh, those are the mouth breathers, like who Mike was talking about a couple days ago. The assembly's over, and Mike confronts Troy. Like, you think this is funny? Like, that's not cool that you're laughing at some dead, that you're laughing at Will during this assembly. And Troy's like, confronts him right back. Don't worry about Will. He's in fairyland now. He's flying around with all the other fairies, all happy and gay. So just just throws down a dead kid essentially. And then he turns around and starts to walk away from Mike. Mike is pissed. He walks up right behind Troy and pushes him down. And, there's a lot of kids still in the gym and see that. They're like, whoa. So Troy gets up and says, "You're dead, Wheeler." Troy starts running towards Mike, but just freezes mid run as if something's happening. And sure enough, something is happening. He can't believe it, but he's pissing himself.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So funny. Everyone starts laughing at him. He's frozen. And we see Elle in the background just kind of wipe her nose and do a little cool spin and walk out of the scene.
Yeah, the cool spin was a great touch because she looks very pleased with herself.
Yes, she
And it's such a
does.
big deal too, because everybody in the school knows that Troy's probably a bully
Yep.
or that Mike is a big nerd. So there's no surprise that this is a big deal when Mike kind of pushes Troy and knocks him over. And
Yeah.
we're like on Mike's side for sure that
Right.
these boys are doing the worst thing that you can do.
Right.
Um, and again, it's a opportunity we see Elle kind of come to the boys' rescue and kind of redeem herself again from, leading them astray, which she didn't really do, but they thought she did.
Right.
They're kind of back together on a team, and she's got their back. And honestly, I thought about this on my last rewatch. The game changes right here, where
How so?
11 now, like the roles are now flipped where the boys have the upper hand no
Mm.
matter what they're going to face from here on out, because 11 is there. She understands how to take care of herself, and now she can take care of the boys as well.
Yeah.
Like, the rules change now for whatever they're getting ready to do. We don't know what it is going to be for the rest of the season, but as long as she's with them, they're going to have a higher chance of succeeding or at least getting their way, because 11 is now this kind of secret weapon that they
Yeah.
have. They
That's
show that by her making Troy wet his pants in front of everybody. And the other kids in the school notice it too. They're like, Troy's peeing himself.
yeah. Super funny. I like the one kid. It's probably his only line in the whole series. Some extra, but he's like, Troy's peeing himself. Ah, like that's
Yeah.
funny to have one line
Principal
making fun
comes
of
in.
somebody.
What's going on here? And the boys
Mm,
dart.
yep. From there, we cut to a funeral home. The first time we've been in a funeral home, and it's Jonathan. He's there with the funeral director, and the funeral director's just as I don't know, not morbid, but just whatever a funeral director is good at being. Just like, here's
Yeah,
one
just
casket. I don't know what your budget.
professional.
I don't know what your budget is, but over there are more caskets essentially. And
Yeah.
as he's leading him around to try to pick a casket, Nancy shows up at the funeral home. She explains, "Your mom said you'd be here. Can we talk for a second?" So Nancy shows Jonathan the photo that she had taped back together. Jonathan's like, "Ugh, it could be some sort of distortion. You sure you didn't see anyone?" And then Nancy says, "Are you sure you didn't see anyone when you were there taking these pictures?" And Jonathan's like, "No, Barb was there 1 second and then gone the next. I figure she bolted." And then Nancy's like, "Yeah, the cops think she ran." And then Nancy tells Jonathan, "I went back to Steve's the next day to look for her, and I thought I saw something, some weird man." And she almost doesn't like finish the description because of how crazy she thinks she sounds. And so she's walking out, and Jonathan goes, "What did he look like, that man in the woods?" And Nancy's like, "Well, it's almost as if he," and before she can finish the sentence, Jonathan goes, "Like he didn't have a face." And Nancy goes, "How did you know that?" It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Huge.
Nancy knows that she sounds insane. And, but Jonathan has been dealing with his mom, who also sounds insane.
Hmm.
But now Nancy's kind of corroborating
What his mom has been saying.
what mom is saying. And even in that moment at the funeral home, facing burying his brother and the financial burden, if you notice, the guy was like, well, here's a soft wood casket with crepe interior. Like here's a cardboard box. And I don't know what your budget is, but there's also these like super expensive copper ones.
Yeah.
Jonathan's dealing with all of this emotion. And even in the midst of that, is like, wait, you're saying something similar to my mom. What what's going on?
Yeah. To
And
have,
he doesn't put anything together, but he's he kind of stops for a second.
oh yeah. Uh, from there we cut to a bar room. Hopper's sitting at a bar drinking a beer, and there's just one other guy at the bar. That guy's like disappointed because his sports ball team isn't doing well. So Hopper right then goes, "Hey, another drink for me, one for my friend here," as if to say, "Sorry, your team's not doing so good." But Hopper makes up this lie and goes, "Hey, I'm celebrating my daughter. My daughter won the spelling bee tonight." And then eventually the guy says to Hopper, "Your daughter, she got a name?" And Hopper almost breaks character, is like, "What? Your daughter, she got a name, Sarah." And then the guy just wants to know the daughter's name to toast Sarah for her spelling bee victory. Then Hopper just keeps on the guy, back to his lie, back to his pretending, and says, "I recognize you. You famous?" And then the guy sitting there goes, "Yeah, I was the police that found that Byers boy in the quarry, so you probably saw me on TV because I'm the one who found him." And then uh Hopper starts asking questions about that, like, "Oh, I thought that quarry is state run." And the cop's like, "Yeah." And then Hopper starts interrogating him at this point, like, "Oh, that's strange because I know who owns that quarry, and it's not a state owned quarry." And then the guy sitting at the bar is like, "What's your deal? What, like, why are you asking me this?" And Hopper's like, "I'm just a concerned citizen." And the dude's like, "Well, yeah, well, stick your nose somewhere else because the kid is dead." That's the end of the story. From right there, it cuts immediately to those two same guys are outside, and Hopper's beating the crap out of him, trying to get more information out of him the hard way, essentially. Uh, and right before he throws another punch, the guy's like, "They told me not to let anyone get close to the body. Like, what are you doing there? How did you know this?" And the other guy's just like, "They told me not to let anyone get close to the body. Who do you work for?" And then Hopper turns around and sees an unmarked car speed off, and the guy says, "You're going to get us both killed." Woo.
This is my favorite scene, not only from this episode, but so
So
far in all
far.
four,
Uh-huh. Why?
because it's Hopper's in his element now. Hopper's
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. He's at a bar. He's playing a character he's playing dumb, but he's found his guy, David O'Bannon, that he
Mm-hmm.
saw on the TV in the coroner's office, and now
Mm-hmm.
he's sitting at the bar with him. He's got him on the hook, and he plays this totally kind of, you know, goofy, kind of happy-go-lucky guy until O'Bannon lies about the quarry
Corey.
being, and you can
Mm-hmm.
tell Hopper changes in a second. He goes, "So that's funny because I know it's actually privately owned by the Sattler Company. Frank Sattler's a decent guy. He's got a couple operations up in Rowan."
Uh-huh.
And O'Bannon's like, "Uh-oh."
Oh.
But uh Hopper's feels like he's getting close. And so
Mm-hmm.
the guy storms off. He says something interesting. He goes, "Thanks for ruining the game, Dick."
Uh-huh.
Which is obviously on the first 10 watches, I was like, well, he's just calling him a name. But the other part about it I thought is Dick is also a kind of police term for a detective. So he can also be saying like, why are you getting so inquisitive about this? You've ruined the game, detective.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a double meaning there, but either way, Hopper's not willing to let him go because he's going to chase him out because now he's like, I think the lab is lying because of the security tapes. Um, Joyce doesn't believe that this is actually Will's body. The coroner got sent home by state officials, and Gary's like, that none of this makes sense. And now I've got this guy in the bar that's lying to me. He's like, I'm getting there. And so when he goes outside and starts beating the absolute living crap out of this guy, he also starts to think, I see that David O'Bannon's maybe a victim here too, because he's like, who do you work for? Who told you to be out there? He's like,
Yep.
they just told me to call it in and not get too close to the body.
Yep.
And so I think the reason that Hopper lets him go eventually is because he sees the black car in the parking lot. Um, and he says, "You're going to get us both killed." Like, hey man, I was just doing what I was told to do. You're
Absolutely.
sticking your nose too far down this rabbit hole. You're going to get in trouble, and you're taking me with you.
Yep.
Um, and Hopper pulls out his 45 and points it at the car like he's going to try to get them to stop. And now he's scared, I think, because now he knows he's getting close, but he actually might be a little too close
Yep.
because he doesn't know who's in that car. But I absolutely love this scene,
Yep.
and it gives Hopper just another trail to follow that he's getting close. But he also realizes it goes maybe even above the state officials.
Sure. From there we cut to Joyce is in her living room. The Clash is playing super loud and she's just yelling like, where are you? I think she's just yelling for Will to show up because she's playing one of his favorite songs. At the same time, the boys are now in the AV room after the assembly, and Elle's sitting in front of the ham radio, and they're like, now what? And Mike's like, oh, she'll find him. She'll find him, right, Elle? And right there, we cut to a flashback. Elle's in the lab and she's sitting at a table with Papa or Dr. Banner or Brenner, but she looks really uncomfortable, just not happy, not comfortable. Dr. Brenner shows her a picture of a man on the table, and Dr. Brenner says, "I need you to find him." And Elle's like, "Hurt him?" And Dr. Brenner's like, "No, I don't want you to hurt him. I want you to listen to him. Just repeat his words back to me." So down the hallway, that man is in like a ISO booth that Elle wouldn't be able to naturally hear, and he starts saying words. And Elle starts doing her concentration thing. She's got on the head net with all the diodes and whatever, and the lights go out. And the guy still keeps talking. And rather than Elle start saying the words come over the radio. Like the man, his actual voice pipes into the room that Dr. Brenner and Elle are sitting in. From there, we cut back to the AV room. At the same time, the light explodes, and through the ham radio, they hear banging. From there, we cut to Joyce's living room, and she hears the same banging. Turns the radio off, and she can hear through the wall Will yelling, "Mom." The boys hear the exact same thing back in the AV room. It's Will yelling for mom. Joyce starts to peel the wallpaper, and the kids in the AV room are like, "Why can't he hear us?" Joyce keeps peeling the paper, and there in her wall is this translucent, fleshy looking organism of a wall, and there's Will on the other side. And she says, "I'll find you, but right now you have to run because the monster is essentially coming after Will in this moment." So Joyce tells Will, "You have to run." And then the wall heals itself. The just whatever fleshy portal type thing was there, the wall just goes back to being a wall. The AV radio catches on fire. The light comes back on. Dustin extinguishes it. Joyce goes at that same wall with an axe. So the wall that just healed itself, she starts at it with an axe, trying to see if she can get back into this portal thing. Elle is sitting there. Levin's sitting there. She's super like frail and weak by whatever she just did with this radio. Her nose is bleeding. She can't walk. And so Joyce breaks through this wall in her own house with an axe, only to have sunlight coming in from the outside. It's a crazy scene.
It's just her porch. There's nothing on the other side. But uh this is what we love about Stranger Things. Like this scene right here is what we will come to love about this show, which is Eleven has this ability to hear things and to kind of bring things out through, the radios so far. She
Hmm.
she's lab to Brenner's surprise, He thought she was going to be able to hear him and then repeat his words. Actually, her ability might be even more useful than that, and that she's able to bring the man's actual voice over the radio. And then we, for the first time since episode one, we actually see Will's face in real time through that wall that in Joyce's house.
Yeah.
And it is, I think he says in this scene, either over the radio in the AV lab or to Joyce, but it's cold.
Cold.
Yeah. Um, and it's dark and it's like our world, but
Yeah. It's like home, but it's cold and so dark. And
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
And yeah, so this is, I mean, this is what we love about the show. She's tearing through this wall, but it's not what we just saw. We literally just saw Will on the other side of this wall. But then when she breaks through the wall, it's just her front porch.
yep.
And
Oh my
so
gosh.
11 looks extremely, she's now pushed herself to her limit.
Hmm.
Um, and there's also we learn even more now. There's a real consequence to Eleven's abilities, where she can't just go indefinitely. She can make a kid pee his pants, and all that does is bring a little blood out of her nose. But
Right.
if you really want the good stuff, communicating with Will on the other side, it's going to cost her more than just that. Where she's kind of incapacitated now.
Yep.
She fried the radio.
We cut to Nancy and Jonathan are in back in that photo lab. We don't know which photo lab, but a photo lab, and they are uh, brightening and enlarging that photo. And Nancy is very kind to Jonathan in this moment, I think, like gives him the benefit of the doubt and is like, you know, how long have you done this photography stuff? Like, not treating him like a creep in this moment. And basically, Jonathan eventually confesses, like, I'd just rather observe people like than talk to them because people don't always say what they're thinking. But if you can capture the right moment with the camera, it says a lot about what they were thinking. Uh, Nancy's like, okay, so what was I thinking when you took my picture? And Jonathan apologizes. He's like, I should have taken that photo. I'm sorry. It's just, and then before he can finish that sentence, the photo has developed and there's the crazy thing in the photo, a little bit brighter, a lot bigger. And Jonathan's like, my mom, I thought she was crazy. And but she said that's not Will's body. So if he's alive, and then Nancy's like, then maybe Barbara's alive.
Yeah, they see the creature,
Yeah.
and it matches Joyce's description, which she's not been a part of this at all. But
Nope.
Nancy bringing this to Jonathan's attention has changed his mind to whatever degree he needs it to be.
Next is one of my favorite scenes. It cuts to Hopper, and he's about to get out of his truck wearing his officer's hat, but before he gets out, he actually takes it off, puts it on, dash,
Yeah,
walks into the morgue front desk. The lady's like, "Oh, hey, Chief, what you here for?" And he's like, "Ah, I forgot my hat." Just plays it off again. He's just acting and blows right past the front desk and walks towards the freezer or the morgue where they hold the bodies, and there's a alarmed guard there. The guard, when he sees Hopper, stands up and gets defensive really quick. And Hopper makes up this lie like, "Oh, I just got off the phone with O'Bannon. They said they need you back at the station." And the guard's like, "I don't work with O'Bannon." And then Hopper's like, "Well," boom, punches him, knocks the guy out, takes the keys off this guard, walks into the morgue where the all those shelves or trays of bodies are. Uh, he finds Will. He pulls out the tray or the gurney that has Will laying on it. He walks away for a minute, as if he's maybe he's having his own internal flashback that he's been there with a dead kid before. Goes back up to Will's body, pulls the sheet down a little farther, exposes basically his chest and stomach, and he feels Will's body. And immediately you can kind of see it in his face. He's like, this feels very weird. So he takes out a knife, and after a couple thoughts, he plunges the knife into his chest area and just starts cutting and opens the body and starts pulling out cotton.
I love this. And you can see the real sense of like, I'm about to do this, and if I'm wrong, I I'm gonna be in big trouble and I'm gonna see something I don't want to see. But yeah,
Yep.
his little interaction with the guard at the front, he's like, "Did I say O'Bannon? I meant." He realizes there's only one way. Well,
Bam.
he just knows the only thing I'm gonna be able to do is just light this guy up.
Yeah, he's been throwing a lot of punches in this episode so far.
There's no question anymore. There's nothing. Um, yeah, this is the smoking gun, if you will, that all of our suspicions about Will's body are true.
Yep.
This is not Will's actual body.
Yep. We cut back to the buyer's house and Joyce sees headlights in the driveway. And I now remember what I was thinking when I first watched this episode. I was like, yes, it's Jonathan and Nancy,
Yeah.
and they're coming to like level with her right now. Or I'm like, yes, it's Hopper. Hopper's coming down the driveway to like be like, oh my gosh, everything you said was right. It's her ex-husband or ex whatever, Lonnie.
The
And
last person you would want to see that as an audience.
Lonnie hops out of the car and says babe, which is kind of like, ooh, you can't still call her babe. And he's like, Jesus, what the hell happened here? Uh, at the same time, we cut away from that, and Hopper is uh driving along the Hawkins Road and pulls up to a fence, probably on the road Mirkwood, right outside the Hawkins lab, and he's brought a pair of bolt cutters. And he, at nighttime, cuts open the fence to the Hawkins lab. Roll credits.
Yeah, man. Why? Yeah. Why does Lonnie like? Why now? I mean, obviously he's gotten word that they found Will's body,
Right,
but um, yeah, him showing up at Joyce's house is like, dude, too little, too late.
right,
But he sees the gaping hole in her front wall and is like, it's worse than I thought.
right. It looks like they're living in a shack.
Yeah, and now we're like, you've been gone for too long to now come and like try to fix anything. But yeah, I mean our attention's pulled away from that pretty quickly to Hopper, who's like, he's not gonna wait till tomorrow to get to the bottom of this.
I just wish he'd take somebody with him. Like, why does he have to do this by himself?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true. That's true. I mean, his deputies are not going to be any help. The one has already kind of told him he thinks that he's chasing some conspiracy theory.
yep.
The other guy's pretty useless too. But um,
Bumble D and Bubble Dumb.
yeah, now we know. I mean, we know for a fact now Will's body is not Will. And we know that 11 has made contact with him, and we suspect that she might be able to do it again in the future.
Yep,
Jonathan's now kind of on Joyce's side about everything, so we're trucking right on down the road to maybe getting closer to actually experiencing what's going on.
yeah,
But we do know that Dr. Brenner is worried about what's on the other side. We've seen through now to the other side a little bit. We know Will's on that side.
yep.
Um, but yeah, Joyce is uh Joyce is in a bad way. And Lonnie's the last person we want being there to like talk her down because he already kind of thinks she's cuckoo.
Yep, yep. Well,
Well, I've heard of butterflies in your stomach, but never cotton in your tummy.
uh, yeah, episode 5 is going to be like, it's crazy just because of everything you just said, essentially. Like, finally, all of the boys, like you said, they're like a team with L. They finally all believe that like Will is alive. Hopper has proof that Joyce hasn't been crazy all along, that she's been telling some sort of truth, but she's at least she's not crazy. Uh, and that something really sinister is going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's 11 o'clock here. Should we stay up and watch another episode? You get 2 hours from me.
Let's see the next episode. Rather than flee, I'm definitely tempted to stay right here and acrobat a somersault. Let's just do the next one.
The Acrobat and the Fleet's coming up, episode 5.
Yep.
Hey, if you've stumbled upon this, we are so thankful. Please like and comment. It means a lot to us. Subscribe if you want to watch some more. If you've made it this far, I feel like maybe you qualify as a subscriber anyway. So
Yep.
I would appreciate that. And
Yeah.
hope or not.
Yep.
We'll see. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the rest of you, we'll see you next time on the Hawkins Observer.